Now, every day that Mike Evans does not get a long-term deal done with the Bucs, it feels like this could be it for Evans in Tampa Bay. Now, I'm not saying that it definitely is, because he too could go test the free agent waters almost like Chris Jones could to find out what his value is and still wind up signing with his original team in the Bucs. But he made clear last offseason if he didn't get that long-term deal that he would be inclined to think about going somewhere else this season. So he will be coveted. This wide receiver market is such that teams will be coming after him. For how much is the question. What kind of value teams place on him, and if it's less or more than the Bucs, will indicate where he ends up in 2024.
Because they also have to worry about Antoine Winfield Jr. too, so there's that part of the picture. Now, Jeff, apparently it's your day to convince people of things, because earlier in the show you convinced the fellas that Justin Fields to Atlanta would be a good idea. They were thinking Pittsburgh. And earlier today, I heard you reference the possibility of Evans going to Kansas City, even though you just laid out the dilemma with their two defensive players. So walk us through this, please.
You're setting me up for failure, and I appreciate it. But we're going to get there, because I'm convinced of this. Look, I just believe, by the way, this is not just speculation, the Chiefs will prioritize the wide receiver position this offseason. How they do that is, of course, the question. Do they go out and try to get a budget group to put around Patrick Mahomes for the coming season, knowing that they've succeeded in the past 2 years doing similar? Or will they go out and get him the type of weapon that could help this offense reinvigorate itself to where this is an offensive team? Now, they won a Super Bowl last year as an offensive team. They won a Super Bowl this year as a defensive team. They can do both things. But Mike Evans in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform should be a scary thought to everyone, to the perspective that, yes, it would make sense for them to consider it if they can get him for the right price.
Hannah, Jeff may have had us with Justin Fields in Atlanta. Maybe. No chance of this happening. Zero. Chris Jones can't leave Kansas City.
Zero.
He was double-teamed 63% of the time. So you have to keep L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones. Sign one, tag the other. Mike Evans is a great player, first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no way they can afford him. They also have to deal with their left tackle, Donovan Smith, amongst others. So to me, Mike Evans is a great player. Unless he wants to go there for close to the minimum, he's not going to be a Kansas City Chief. This draft is loaded with wide receivers. So if I'm the Chiefs, I sign L'Jarius Sneed, I franchise tag Chris Jones, or the opposite. I try to draft a wide receiver and a left tackle. While I love Mike Evans, he's just not in the same stratosphere right now in terms of priorities and salary cap resources.
Priorities? Acho, you go first. You go first. I want the last word.
Jeff can't even speak. All right, Sam.
I'll just say this, two things. The two things that I saw, at least this year and last year, what happened? Kansas City Chiefs could have paid Tyreek Hill. They didn't. What happened when they let Tyreek Hill walk? Yes, Tyreek had success, but also Kansas City won not just one Super Bowl, but another one without a dominant wide receiver. So we saw that. You had Travis Kelce, but nothing on the outside. That's part one. And then part two, I'll say this. As far as trying to keep both L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones, I think that Chris Jones is definitely the priority, just because historically speaking, I haven't seen Kansas City pay top end for defensive backs. Whatever reason they haven't done it, they've won without it. And so though L'Jarius Sneed is one of the played himself into a top level contract, it'll be interesting to see if Kansas City can afford both him and Chris Jones and who they'll prioritize.
Okay, first of all, you said that the fact that they've done it the past 2 years. 2 years ago, they did it with an offensive success rate, more so than defense. I can walk to Bristol, Connecticut right now. I can get there, but if you gave me a car, it would be a lot better for everybody, right? Give Patrick Mahomes a real receiver. Do it. 38 drops in the middle of the year. And by the way, here's what I'm coming back to. Mike T, you're talking about not being able to afford him. This year, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to cost them $13.9 million if they keep him for the 2024 season. That doesn't make sense. They can save $11.9 million against the cap by releasing him. And if they were to do that, they've only got Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce as their pass catchers in this offense. They've got to go get somebody. So they're going to have to reload. They're going to do that. The question isn't whether they're going to or not, whether they can put junk around Mahomes and make another Super Bowl. The question is who they're going to put around him. Go get Mike Evans. Don't take no for an answer. Find a way to get him on a good deal. They've earned that by having Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback. Wide receivers will want to come play there. Don't give up just because you think that he's going to be too expensive. He might not be.
Jeff, I appreciate the sentiment, but again, the tiebreakers in these decisions is what can we backfill in the draft. You're not going to draft Chris Jones in this draft in the top 5, and certainly not at 32 where they are. And corners, there's a little bit more of those than defensive linemen, but there are a ton of receivers. A guy like Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU, he may be there at 32. And if he is, he has a chance to be a #1 receiver. So to me, when you look at the overall strategy of what's best for the Chiefs overall, I agree. MVS should probably graduate. Hasn't been good enough. But pay the guys that have been there. Give them what they deserve. That's your nucleus. And then go draft a wide receiver. And that's something that they should be able to do where they're drafting this year at 32.
Because that worked out with Sky Moore. That didn't work out with Sky Moore. Number 2, extend Chris Jones. Push the money out. That's fine. Tag L'Jarius Sneed. Get Patrick Mahomes weapons.
Oh,
give him weapons.
Goodness.
You've got to give him weapons.
If
Did
this
it work out with
doesn't
Kelsey?
happen,
They just won a
Tyreek
Super
Hill?
Bowl without a #1 wide receiver. What are we talking about? Like, this is not desperation mode. They just did
They had 38
it
drops
without
in the
a
middle
guy
of the
like
year.
Mike Evans.
They
They
battled.
did it
I want to see what
through
you said
Rasheed
about the
Rice and
Chiefs
Travis
wide
Kelce.
receivers in
Guys
the middle
stepped
of
up.
the
It's
year.
doable. They won a Super Bowl.
if this doesn't happen,
It's
Jeff, I'd like
doable.
to
Go
see
get
you walk to
receivers.
Bristol, Connecticut. That would be a lot of
They
fun.
will not make it to another Super Bowl if they don't put a nucleus of receivers around him. They've got to do it.